Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Jeff from Think Geek. Burchette, is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, nice. Sometimes it actually works out that way.
Yeah, I've heard basically every permutation of my name that you could possibly come up with. So I respond to most anything at this point, but that was good.
Yeah, I've got one of those last names as well. So we always get Freon, and it's Friant. But what are you going to do? So what's in a name?
For
So
me, what's up?
we had John on yesterday, and his name, I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to try.
His his name is just like it looks like I don't know if you've ever been to Wales and seen sort of like some of the Welsh language stuff that you see. Like you go down and there's this like a street name and it's 87 consonants long and there's like not a vowel in sight. And the first time that I met John, it was like that, and I just said like I'm not even going to try. What is it? And it's Shindahedi, just in case. But it doesn't like even once you know it, it's still tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a mouthful. So we've been talking for a little while because ThinkGeek is actually a sponsor for the Saber Dice game. And, obviously I've been aware of ThinkGeek for a long time now. You guys put out all kinds of crazy, cool, nerdy, geeky stuff. And so you also run a show over there as well, in addition to everything else. You wear many hats.
If you can call it a show, yeah, that's a charitable description of what we do. But yes, we do.
Well, it's not much different than what we do. We have the benefit of just having much more focused discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Think Geek is like all over the place when it comes to what you guys have your hands in.
Yeah, we've got something like 6,000 products live on the site right now, and it's like everything from shark bowls to Nintendo themed shower curtains and pretty much anything in between.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, the jellyfish is pretty cool. We had a customer actually who suggested that we should do a Metroid version of those with the Metroids floating in the water. I don't know if you ever played that, the old school Nintendo game, but I thought that was a pretty cool idea. I'm hoping that comes to be reality.
That would actually be really cool. So you guys actually also just recently landed the D&D license, right?
I think that's something that we're working towards. I don't know that we've gotten all the way home with that, but I think we're getting close.
Okay. Well, I saw you guys definitely still have D&D stuff on this.
Oh yeah, we have D&D product. We've carried a lot of sort of like dice and tabletop gaming stuff over the years, and we've been pushing more into D&D specific product lately. But it's definitely been a core thing for the Think Geek fan for quite a while.
Well, it's right up a lot of our alleys, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of us here are big D&D fans, and Think Geek by and large. I mean, we're not like a tiny business, but we're not huge either. We have like maybe sort of depending on the season, because we do bring in some seasonal assistance for our busy times, but we're somewhere like 70 or so employees here in the main Think Geek office. And by and large, Think Geek is kind of just like a reflection of all the stuff that the people who are at Think Geek love. So, you can sort of like look through our product catalog and I'll know, like we just launched recently a game that is called the Donner Dinner Party, which is like it's like a hidden identity game based on the Donner Party, which is like this really tragic thing and the in U.S. history of this family trying to sort of go west and getting trapped and resorting to cannibalism. And so now they've made a game of it, and so we're carrying this on the site and stuff like that. And like I can look at products now at this point because I've gotten to know everybody here pretty well. And I can kind of like go through and sort of see a product and go, oh, I know who brought that in, regardless of whose category it was. Like I just know who's responsible for it, because you can sort of tell who it sort of feels like. But we by and large are sort of like a group of D&D fans. We've got it. We actually even have an office game that we run here of employees, and then a lot of employees have their own games too.
So the office game, does that happen during hours, after hours?
I wish it happened during hours. That would make the days a whole lot more fun and interesting, but it is an after hours thing. It happens. We try to play every week or so for about 3.5, 4 hours a night.
So I think if you recorded it or streamed it, you could call it work.
I mean, the thing is that I don't think anybody would want to watch it. So we have a few people in the group who have been playing D&D for quite a while, and then a number of other people who are just coming to the game for the very first time and who have like no role playing experience, no tabletop experience. And some of the best experiences are them are them finding their way and sort of like feeling out their characters. But there's definitely been some long periods of like, I don't know, like 4 hours of going through character sheets and stuff like that maybe wouldn't translate to great television.
That's where editing comes in.
Yeah, we could probably do something that was recorded, but I don't know about live.
Well, but that's what we do with that's how we started out with our live games. I mean, they weren't live, recorded games. Literally, it was just us. I don't know. I think people like watching this stuff, so we set up a camera while we played, and people watch it.
Yeah,
there are people out there that are just waiting for your D&D game to come online. And
our D&D game, man, it has some funny stuff. So my boss is he's the VP of e-commerce and marketing here, and he's playing with us. His name's Chris, and Chris, his character is named Cruz. Because you can't stray too far from home. So as he described Cruz looks exactly like Chris. He speaks like Chris. It's very funny. Like he's a human. It's just like it's really funny how aligned they are. But Cruz has this really, really strong infatuation with grappling hooks. So there's never a missed opportunity to grapple. So in the game, Cruz is also a scribe. And so he's penning a book called "Grapple Your Way to Success: The Cruz Carter Story." And so this nonsense is like what permeates the game that we've got going on, and it's constantly him just like looking for a way to grapple at something, regardless of what the outcome might be of that activity.
So now are you saying grappling or grappling hook?
Yeah, grappling hook, like a hook on a string that you throw at something and try to climb up a wall. This is basically what his D&D game is.
That's funny. It actually there was this like Disney movie. I forget the name of it, but my kids have watched it so many times, and one of the characters always carried a grappling hook.
I don't know which one that is, but I mean, apparently what I've learned from this game is that all good heroes must have a grappling hook handy at a moment's notice.
You just never know.
You never know when you're going to need to grapple something.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've seen people tell us that like they don't watch shows like Critical Role, but they'll watch our game. So like everyone is looking for something different, I guess. And like sometimes I think like it resonates with people that actually don't get to play that much. And if they can find a group that reminds them of maybe a group that they used to play with, like that means more to them than like the high quality role playing and some of the other elements.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's true. You always I think anybody who's played sort of D&D or really any tabletop game, like if you've had some experience playing, you've had some really good times, and you've had some really fun experiences with your friends and made some really good memories. And I think part of wanting to play and like every new game is hoping that you have the opportunity to sort of either relive that or create something that's similar to it again.
Yeah, the really cool thing that comes to my mind when you say, we have an office game, right? Like, how many jobs have you worked at where you just go into work, you do your job, you leave, and you never really get to know the people you work with, let alone connect or like them. But when you play D&D with people, like you're building lifelong friendships.
Or enemies, depending on how it goes. But yeah, you can't play D&D with somebody and not get to know them. It just doesn't work.
We do these GM 911s, and like someone had sent one in talking about an office game, and they were running for their boss, and how their boss would like cheat and do stuff. And kind of like, I don't know, how bad do you like your job?
Like, how do you call out your boss for cheating? In this case, our DM just makes his grappling hook fail miserably, and that's what happens.
Or if he's having a bad day at work, they take it out on the grappling hook.
Yeah, I think that definitely might have happened with a couple of the ambushes that we've had. But it's it's been a revealing game for sure. We've learned a lot about a lot of people. My social media manager is playing a rogue, but the rogue that she's playing is this like ancient halfling lady, and so she hobbles around on a cane, and sort of like every opportunity she gets, she's stealing from everybody, and maybe she's also just like murdering people in cold blood because that's the thing that she feels like she needs to do.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. Also, it seems like a lot of new players, like they tend toward those kinds of behaviors. I've seen it more with younger players,
Mm-hmm.
but new players as well. It's like, oh, I can do these things.
Yeah, it's just like how to be evil simulator or something. I don't know. I guess it's the same thing like if you play a game like Skyrim when you go into everybody's house and break in and steal everything you possibly can. Hoard up all the cheese that you can find in the whole world.
You know, I've never actually played Skyrim.
It's a great game. I mean certainly not as open ended as sitting down at the table with your friends, but it's a lot of fun.
That's just it. I don't have enough time for all my hobbies in my life, unfortunately. The wife and kids have to fall in there somewheres, I guess.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing. Families, they want attention and want to do stuff with you.
So you said you have a youngling. Are you going to break them into the hobby?
I've got 3 kids. My youngest is 2, and then 9 and 12. So there's been some interest in a couple of things. I don't know if if you're familiar with the comic Mouse Guard. So Mouse Guard also has an RPG system that my kids have been a little bit interested in. So we'll see. 12-year-old, I don't think is going to go there. 9-year-old maybe, and then 2-year-old, who knows?
No, you know what's a good one? Monty Cook Games. No, thank you, Evil.
Okay,
Shannon.
I haven't played that, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, my partner Ted, he's played that one with his kids, and he's got I guess a 5-year-old. She just started kindergarten, and a 9 or a 10-year-old, and they have a limited amount of TV time that they're allowed, and they were willing to turn down TV time for playing the game. So,
man, that's pretty good.
And those kids are usually like, if you turn on a screen anywhere in their vicinity, they're drawn to it like flies to moths to a flame.
Yeah, it is crazy. If you turn on a screen, I think within like 100 yards of a child, I don't know, maybe it's their hearing, maybe it's like like a dog whistle goes off and you can't hear it, but they hear it somehow and they just like beeline right to it. It doesn't even matter what's on. They'll sit and watch commercials without any interruption, and they don't even care.
But I think Mouse Guard, do you own that game?
Yeah, I do.
That thing is like a brick.
It is. I bought it. I bought I guess I probably have the first edition when it was published only as a book. And I've seen actually a new edition when I was at PAX that I had never encountered before that comes like as a fully fledged box set almost. So it sort of reminded me of something like Castle Ravenloft that looked like it had miniatures and everything else in it. It was pretty cool. I didn't pick it up, but it looked pretty neat. But the one I've got is just like one book that's like an inch thick.
Yeah, like I think we kind of did like a flip through / review of Mouse Guard, and a friend of ours had brought it over, and that box, if you were to drop it on the table, you better have a sturdy one.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've played a couple of games of it. I really enjoyed it. It's been a few years, but I did like it. I really like the world of Mouse Guard. I don't know. I really sort of fell in love with all the comics when they started coming out, and then I got to meet David Peterson, and it was I don't know. It's kind of cool to put sort of him in the place of the world and talk to him a little bit about the comic itself, and it was I don't know. It was neat, but I really like the world building that he's done. And I think the game is a great experience, sort of like getting to play inside that.
No, absolutely. But it's probably not child friendly because it's like the system's complex, right?
Yeah, the system is pretty gnarly. It requires not quite Shadowrun levels of math, but it requires you to have like a tub of dice and a bunch of math.
Also, there's Pugmire. That's another one that may interest the kids as well. But again, I think No Thank You Evil is like one of the best games for kids, and one of like the built-in components is everyone gets a companion. So So kids like always like the pet.
Oh yeah,
And there's different ones, whether it's a dinosaur or a robot or something.
that's cool. I will definitely check that out. I think my 9-year-old daughter would be into that for sure. She's got we have a herd of cats in the house. I don't know, like I don't know at what point you cross over from just having a lot of cats and too many cats to having an actual herd, but we have 5, which is definitely a herd of cats. And I think she would get into anything where she could have sort of like an animal companion that could go on adventures with her.
Yeah, at that point, when you have that many cats, you have to be really careful about not feeding them because they could definitely take down a small child.
Yes, and then it's funny. Like we have this one cat that's about the size of a horse, and I don't know if you've ever tried to put one cat on a diet in a house full of 5 cats. That's impossible. That's just not like a thing that you can do. So then it gets even tougher, because then the cat gets like hangry and starts trying to see what it can do.
We have a new kitten we acquired a few months ago, and he's polydactyl.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even know the term until after we got him. I had another cat like this before, but I just recently discovered that he can retract his claws. I thought he couldn't because there was just too much paw there, to fit him in. But it turns out, no, he can. He's just really a jerk.
He just would prefer to claw you all the time.
Yes. So good stuff, cats.
Yeah. Cats are a good time for tabletop gaming too, because they help a lot by like walking across whatever you're doing and making, they paw your miniatures around and help you move them about. It's really good.
Oh, the best meme ever is proof that the world's not flat is a cat walking across the flat world knocking stuff.
Yeah, it's like things would be off the edge. All the cats would be on the perimeter just knocking stuff off.
Oh, and they're the best too, because you're like, no, don't do that, and they look right at you and like. Psh.
I like it when you get the slow move too. The cat looks at you and he just goes,
"Yep."
Yeah, they do that. Mine did that recently with a glass of orange juice, and it's like, cat, that, like, you definitely know that's wrong, and it's heavy, and it's like you worked for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're terrible.
At that point, they're just pissed at you for something.
Yeah, or just being terrible. Like I'm not convinced that they're just not awful animals that we've somehow been tricked into keeping around.
Well, if you think about it, right? Why did we originally keep them around? To kill things.
Yeah.
If you think about it. But, as we got more civilized, like you can't say I keep this cute little thing around to kill things. No, it's just a cute, cuddly thing.
Your murder fluff. Like your house murder fluff. Yeah.
So what do you guys got working over on Think Geek? Anything exciting coming in the works? I know and I also know you're always at like the different conventions.
Yeah, we just did PAX West, which was a lot of fun. If any of you watching happen to see us there, thanks for coming by. What do we have that we are working on? Let's see. What can I talk about that's out? So I would say we definitely have some stuff that I've seen in the pipeline that's coming that is D&D focused. You can definitely also expect, we're moving into the fourth quarter of the holiday season, and because it's sort of like at the end of the day, even though we are the coolest website on the internet, of course, we are still a store, and the fourth quarter is like a big thing for pretty much any retail organization with holiday purchasing. So we've got some really cool gaming stuff coming up, I would say, that you should be looking for around holiday. We've just launched recently, not really in the tabletop gaming space, but we did launch this really cool statue that is kind of the beginning of a line of statues that we're doing. We're calling Modern Icons. And who knows, maybe one of these days we'll see some tabletop gaming characters represented in there. But right now, the first one we've got out is a Fallout statue. We could definitely try to do something like I've been a proponent recently of this harebrained idea that probably is not workable of floating statues. So you've seen some sort of like magnetic levitation contraptions, but I've been sort of like going through all of the characters that I think are interesting that sort of float. So we maybe one day Maglev or Beholder statue could be in the works.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would love it so much just to have like this floating statue that just sits there and hovers on your desk looking menacing.
That absolutely would be incredible. You guys also recently put out a tabletop game that my friends made.
Which one?
Laser Riders.
Oh yeah, we did.
And it made an appearance on one of the Geek and Sundry shows. I think Game the Game. We were actually out there to film our GM tips, which went live on Alpha and will be on YouTube, I think, tomorrow. So if you guys are looking for that. But when we were out there, I'm like, hey, that's Laser Riders. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to have this on the show. I'm like, oh, the guys, the couple that made this game is in my D&D group.
That's so cool. The art that's on the packaging for that game is so eye-catching. I have a probably like unhealthy level of love for that sort of like really over-the-top neon 80s Dayglow nonsense.
Yeah.
And you know, you get the computer grids. It's really good.
Did you see their Kickstarter video?
I didn't. No, actually, my first experience with this game, and I haven't even gotten to play it yet, was when our buyer Robert was bringing it in and was telling me about it, and I got to see the packaging and sort of look through some of the contents of it.
Yeah, I actually got to play it in beta, and you know I backed it on Kickstarter, and I have a copy of it. But when they did the Kickstarter, so they did it so it looked like a grainy VHS recording.
Oh, that's cool.
For the video, and you know all the packaging is like that, like, and it looks all beat up, and it's a fun game that has like a lot of replay value.
That's cool.
They have another game called Resistor, which is really cool, has a lot of really smart, cool mechanics, and it's a head-to-head game. Why I enjoyed playing it a couple times. It's not a game like I would go back to over and over again. Where like Laser Riders is like one of those games like you're having a party. What are you guys doing? Let's throw this thing out there on the table.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, and I think, you know, a few of the folks here in the office have played it. In addition to having sort of like a rotating D&D night that a few of us play in, we do have a company-wide game night that we do each month. So maybe next time we have a game night, we'll pull it out and check it out.
You know what shocked me the most about that game? I was like, how did someone not do this already? Because let's face it, it's Tron light cycles on your table.
Mm-hmm. That's about all you could want, I have to say. Is it like if I could just like climb into Tron, it's pretty much my ideal environment, I think. And sort of anything that lets me sort of pretend that I'm there is something that I am into.
So next, maybe they have to do the disc thrower game.
Ah, that'd be fun.
That used to be one of my favorite video games. Do you remember the arcade game?
I do. I played the Tron arcade game quite a bit. It's a pretty good one. We were actually at which show was it? I guess might have been Star Wars Celebration it could have been Orlando at Star Wars Celebration, or it might have been before at PAX East in Boston. I can't remember, but we were at an arcade that had been set up, and they had one of the original Tron games there that was fully working. We have a non-working one in the office, but they had one that was like top-notch working, and the controls were good on everything.
Yeah, that is something I definitely miss.
Just going to the arcade.
Yeah, playing arcade games. Like they do have a couple arcades, but they don't have the games that we used to play.
Yeah, I mean, the arcades now that are pretty good have a lot of fighting games in them, it seems. I mean, that's kind of the draw for the arcades now, because you go and you do your head-to-head matches, but it's not a place where people just like go and hang out in the way that it used to be. I
don't even see those. I see like the only arcades we have around here are like Dave and Buster's. Oh yeah. And that's all like, if they're video games, it's all racing games or shooters. Yeah, you don't really have the same experience, but I remember going as a kid, you know, like just having pockets full of quarters or whatever, and you go to the arcade and you just see like, how long can you make it last with your friends? And I don't know, I met some of my like lifelong friends playing arcade games in the local arcade when I was a kid, and definitely also just, you know, remember the rivalries that would develop there as, you know, you'd show up and you'd see your name was taken off the high score list, or your initials were gone, and you're like, who's this guy who's unseated me? And, you know, sort of nemesis, my new nemesis. Yeah, and like there'd be people you'd never even know, but you just like pump quarters into that machine to get your initials back up on the top, and then, you know, you see it sort of like jockey back and forth until you both lose interest over a few weeks. Thomas Beeswick in the chat. My local pub has 20 pinball machines and 10 arcades. And that's funny because that's where I was going next. That's what I miss the most is pinball.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you can't simulate on a console.
No, you cannot. I was when we were in PAX. There's a so if you're ever in Seattle, there's a place called Shorty's that is like the best pinball arcade / bar that I've ever been to, and I've been a few times to there. And then also the Unicorn and Narwhal in Seattle actually has a pretty good pinball selection.
Well, I remember we would go sometimes when we should be at school, or after school to the 7-Eleven and just play pinball.
Yeah,
hours.
Oh, my local 7-Eleven had one game, and about every 4 years they would change it out. And I remember the first one I think that they brought in was Street Fighter 2, just like the OG Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior.
Yeah,
which was like the start of something great. I wouldn't like quite give it to it for being the quality of being that iteration of Street Fighter 2 being a great game. But then after a while, then they replaced it with the Aliens game, which I think stayed there until they removed it.
Or Gauntlet. You remember Gauntlet?
Gauntlet was great. Gauntlet,
it was the worst graphics ever, but it was amazing.
It was so much fun. Well, it was 4-player, right? So you got to you huddle around it with your friends and elbow each other, and I don't know. It was like it wasn't just the game, and that's why I think arcades were so good. And it's kind of funny because arcades and sort of like tabletop gaming have, in a lot of ways, a lot of similarities, right? Like you can sit on a couch and you can play with somebody who's a million miles away from you, and it can be fun. But there's just something that's sort of like extra good and interesting about having all of you clustered around this thing and sharing the experience in the space.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get all that humanity mixed together someplace. Yeah. What it comes down to.
Yes, and it makes it like when you get mad at your friend for doing something terrible, it makes it a whole lot easier to elbow them. Like when they're right next to you than having to wait till the next time.
Oh no, better than that for that kind of stuff was Rampage.
Rampage was a lot of fun, and Smash TV was a lot of fun, which I pumped a ton of quarters into both of those.
I mean, because you always had one jerk friend who would scoop you up and eat you after you got turned into a human.
Every single time.
You may have even been that jerk friend that would scoop up the person and eat them.
Maybe. I can't believe they're making a movie out of that game too. Did you know?
I did not. I'll watch it. I have terrible taste in like TV and movies. I enjoy things that people always say are awful.
Yeah. I like a lot of those good bad movies too.
Like so Pacific Rim gets a hard time from a lot of people. I'm like, what do you mean? There's giant monsters and giant robots. What more do you need?
Anybody who doesn't like Pacific Rim is just misinformed. It was a great movie, and like I love that Pacific Rim is, I don't know, it's like 2 hours long. It's a movie in which robots fight monsters. That's it. It's 2 hours of robots fighting monsters, and there's like a little bit of a story that kind of ties those fights together, but mostly you're just there to watch robots fight monsters. That's
it. Sometimes people just overthink it.
Well, Rampage is coming out in 2018. I think it's coming out in like April or something, and I believe it's got The Rock in it, so it's probably going to be pretty fun.
Oh yeah. I love him as an actor. He's great.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll be scooping people up, just like off the street and just chowing down.
Maybe. Well, I'll have to see where that one goes. I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one for sure.
So Kelsey Nicole, I love the Dave and Buster's. They're all right. They're a little dead to me right now. I went there for I guess it was around my birthday. My wife was like, "Hey, let's go there." Well, I saw they had the specialty drinks with the sea monsters, and so when we asked the waitress about them, she's like, "Oh, we're out of sea monsters, and I think we had them for a while." She's like, "Do you want the drink?" I'm like, "No, we just wanted the sea monsters."
Yeah, the food there and the stuff is like it's good enough to get you through for the games. That's about it.
Yeah, it's really all about like the novelty.
Yes, and it's funny because like every time I go to Dave and Buster's, I see I see some game that's been translated to an arcade machine that I had no idea that would ever be like Plants vs. Zombies, like these massive Plants vs. Zombies arcade machines. And it's like, I didn't know we needed that, but okay, that's cool. I'm cool with it, but I didn't know we needed it.
You need them to put it in front of you to understand you need the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't even know that you guys actually have brick and mortar stores.
We do. So we were acquired by GameStop in, I guess, just a little over 2 years ago. It was summer 2 years ago. And, GameStop is pretty good at running, small format stores throughout the company or throughout the country. The company is sort of like made its bread and butter of having thousands of those. So it was a pretty cool opportunity for us that we got to sort of push into brick and mortar retail, which is something we wanted to do for a long time, but hadn't been able to crack that code as a company yet. So we currently have, I want to say, we've been expanding in the past few months. So I want to say the current number is 36 retail locations that are standalone ThinkGeeks. And then if you have a GameStop near you, some of them are 50-50 split stores, and some of them have a pretty large ThinkGeek section in them as well.
Is that relatively new then?
Yeah, I mean, we were acquired, like I said, like about 2 years ago, just a shade over 2. The stores started rolling out just a little over a year ago, I guess it would have been. And we'll be pushing out more and more of those because world domination through retail prowess. I guess that's what we're after.
Nice. Laura Filler, Fort Wayne store, ! I think we got one in New Jersey. That is
yeah, there's one in New Jersey. There's one in Herald Square in New York City too. I'm bummed. This is just, so retail, there's like nothing personal in retail. And so our office is right by Washington, D.C. And the closest store to us right now is the New Jersey store.
Ugh.
So it's a little bit of a bummer for us because we would all like to be able to just head down the street and go to the store and check out what's going on in the IRL locations. But it's retail is all about making the smartest move that you can into whatever space you can. So
yeah, clearly, I think the Jersey one is still like an hour and a half from me at least. So it's not like it's like Central Jersey. I'm in South Jersey. Then I was thinking, well, maybe there's something in Philadelphia, but.
Well, there's the store locator page. They are expanding them pretty rapidly. I don't remember what the final count is that we're trying to hit for the end of the year, but there's definitely some more they're going to be opening up. I see another question in the chat from Cody who says that GameStop sells ThinkGeek. Yes, GameStop does sell some ThinkGeek stuff.
They're mixing and mashing.
Yeah, we're pretty good at doing collectibles and geeky stuff, so that's kind of the space that we're trying to help fill out for them. And if anybody does, like I said, if anybody does want to look for a store, we have a store locator on our page. They are kind of spattered throughout the country, and there may or may not be one near you right yet, but it's pretty easy to check where there are.
Yeah, with 36 stores, that's not even one in each state. So
no, we're not all the way to world domination yet. We've got a little bit of ground to cover still.
Well, you gotta work on U.S. domination first, and then expand out the world.
I guess. I mean, we can't set those goals too low, right? Like if you set the goals too low, you might just stop at like dominating Kentucky, like not get all the way past.
I'm waiting for the store on the moon.
That's a 2019 initiative. We're gonna team up with Elon Musk and SpaceX and just plant one right there that you see, big old ThinkGeek flag out.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know. Looks like from what I've been seeing in some of the geeky, some of the geekier blogs about Mars expansion, that might be possible. I heard even that they're trying to do something with like doing a test to establish a micro atmosphere, like a micro atmosphere generator on Mars. So who knows? Maybe there will be ThinkGeek stores on Mars and the moon soon.
Nice. We need a city at the bottom of the ocean first.
Oh, it's already there. It's just got sunk. It's just Atlantis. Just lift it back up.
Well, you don't have to lift it back up. You just need the atmosphere generator.
Yeah, or
give it a bubble.
Or some of those really cool 50s fish tank helmets. Then you just like wear around the big globe glass helmets.
Nice. Well, or they could just make one big one and put it over top of the city.
Yeah.
Pump air in there. So Thomas says 2024 ThinkGeek acquires Amazon. That would be some world domination there.
I mean, that's a little bit of a long-term thing. I don't think it's going to take till 2024 though. It's giving us a lot of time.
Well, it is proper planning. Although by that time, who knows how big Amazon's going to be?
It's just everything. You're just going to get a chip implanted, and whenever you think of a product, it just automatically appears at your house and deducts money from you.
Yeah, a drone will just ship it.
It just like follows you around. There's like just a drone that follows you, like your companion, and No Thank You Evil. It's just like follows you around, and whenever you think of it, it just goes and fetches it for you and brings it back.
Says Zarif Gaming crud, not a single one in New Mexico, all in East Texas except El Paso.
Soon,
you're gonna have to make the journey. You're going to Texas anyway in January. You keep asking us about PAX South, so you can make the trek.
PAX South, I have not been to. It's definitely one that I would like to check out though.
Yeah, well, Zarif Gaming keeps asking us if we're going to go to PAX South. And Saber Dice is thinking about it. I think most of us are planning on going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the holdout because Texas is on the other side of the country.
And yeah, Texas is a far away thing. What about PAX Unplugged? Are you going to do that? That's in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we are actually helping out with the Open Legend booth.
Nice.
We're booth bearding.
That's good. I think Unplugged seems like a really cool, sort of like a really cool thing that PAX is trying to do because have you ever been to PAX?
I have not. I actually, I have not done that many conventions, and this year I've been kind of blitzing them.
Yeah. So PAX, when it was sort of like starting out, it had I think maybe like a greater percentage of the show was sort of dedicated to people playing games. And now there's a sort of like, there's a lot of an E3 component to it where you go and you see a lot of new information. There's big, huge booths from big companies and they're setting up sort of like demos and trailers and things like that where you get a first look. But there used to be a lot more gameplay and a huge sort of like tabletop gaming spaces. And, you can't please everyone with any of that. Right. It's just impossible. So I think, the direction that West and East and likely South have kind of gone in has been more towards that sort of like big experience. But I know a lot of fans really have wanted to get back to playing games together, just like going to this convention to play games, sort of like something a little closer to Gen Con or something. And I think it's cool that they're doing the Unplugged.
Yeah. And a lot of the conventions seem to be like moving away from tabletop games and playing games because, well, anything. It's like once you start getting the money involved, they start going. Yeah, everybody starts gravitating where the money is. So video games, there's a lot more in that industry that they're throwing around. So,
yeah, it's money. I guess money with anything is kind of a double-edged sword because it's hard to do stuff without it. But then it comes with requirements, I guess.
Absolutely. So, guys, it's getting a little late into the stream, but let's hit the roll call, guys, and let us know where you're at. So, just keep chatting for a little bit while they get going. There's always a little bit of a delay, but every day, usually around halfway through, which we've kind of blown through, we like to do the roll call and see where people are weighing in from, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do love how, it's like you're seeing people coming in from Norway and Texas and Sweden and New Mexico, just like all over. It's really cool how the internet and sort of content topics really bring people together.
So we got Jinker GM in Atlanta, 2 ThinkGeek stores here. AJ Kinney's in Lopez Island, Washington. We got Todd Boyce in Dallas, Texas. Oslo, Norway in the house with Thomas. We got Lincoln in Sweden, Redizio, New Mexico with Zarif Gaming. Brian Collin is in West Georgia. You guys should check out Brian Collin and Creature Creations. BJ Howard is in Minnesota. Laura Filler, Indiana. Friginator 1369 is Tacoma, Washington. Acolyte 14 is in Boston. We got Truemate in Wales. We got Brisbane, Australia in the house with James. We got Forge of the Table and Ms. Montana. We got Oregon with Mr. Rob's Cleaning Service. We've got Central Coast, California with Sean Jones. Oklahoma with Cody Smith, Sams. New Brunswick, Canada is with Ben. We got Jim Davis in Burlington, Vermont. Fort Lauderdale, Florida in the house with Andrew. And that Jim Davis is also part of Saver Dice and WebDM as well. We've got BC, British Columbia, Canada with Shadow. We got Wilder in New York. So we got people all over the place, which is always really cool. So Creature Curation is Brian Collin, and he does a lot of the different shows. If you ever get a chance, check him out, because he does these awesome like sculpts and like trophy heads of monsters.
That is definitely very cool.
Usually you'll like be walking down an aisle and you'll see like a monster head poking out, and it's probably his booth.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something, I don't know, I guess, extra cool about bringing something fantastic, bizarre, sort of like into the real world where you can touch and feel it. I don't know. It's a little like it's a step beyond, I guess, just seeing an illustration or imagining it.
Like, have you seen the Mind Flayer and the Red Dragon head
that he has done?
No, just in general. Wizards of the Coast. I think it's WizKids that did them.
I think I have. They take them to their shows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, if nothing else, I figured maybe you've seen them online or whatever. They're super cool. Well, his work is on par with what they put out, for sure.
That's awesome.
Except for it's all like unique creations that his son actually comes up with the ideas for, who's like 7, and then he makes the sculpts.
Oh, that's really cool. Kids have some of the craziest ideas. I remember there was an artist that I saw a while ago that had taken like, I don't know, sort of like half-formed drawings that their kid had done of some monsters, and sort of like finished them out like as a professional artist. It was pretty wild to see sort of like the ideas that kids will come up with.
I'm just envisioning some guy like going, "This is garbage. Give me that," and finishing the drawing.
That's probably kind of how it started. It's like, okay, that's enough. That's enough, Timmy. That's like, no more. Let me finish this for you. But kids come up with stuff that's like way more terrifying and bizarre and creepy than grown-ups ever possibly could. They're just like, their little imaginations are not limited or bounded by anything at all.
Their spirits haven't been broken and crushed by the world yet.
Yeah, nobody's told them that's not a real thing. You can't do that. That's made up. They just go do it.
But that is kind of like the weird and funny thing is, like, generally we tell kids that you can do what you want, you can be what you want, and to play and have an imagination. And then there's a certain point where we tell them, no, that's not realistic.
Yeah, crush that, please. We're gonna need you to look at this spreadsheet.
Yeah.
This spreadsheet is really going to help you out here. So let's put away those colored pencils for a bit.
Yeah, here's a TPS report.
we have a TPS report here. So, like I was, like the people here at ThinkGeek, like all of us are kind of, we kind of are what you would expect us to be, I guess is the best way to put it. And so we have stuff that's like TPS reports and that are just kind of like these snarky takes at things, but that's the ThinkGeek position of supply report. And so it's essentially like a logistics report that we have, but all of our reports have these goofy names. We have the time machine report, but a lot of stuff that gets published internally, it's all just kind of a bunch of us trying not to take it too seriously.
That's great. I just feel like the management is trying to trick everyone into making one work fun, but then they're going to get the thing and be like, this isn't fun at all.
I mean, it's definitely still work, but we have a pretty good time doing it.
Well, you're surrounded by cool things anyway. That's got to help.
Yeah, I mean, like my desk, which you can't see is down here, is like I have a gigantic T-Rex statue on it. There's piranha plant puppets. There's like a medical model of a brain coasters. There's a bunch of bowls that are like open mouth Star Wars stuff. It's like this place is filled with nonsense, and so it's kind of impossible to be but so salty that you have to be doing work in a place that's completely filled to the brim with nonsense. You just can't help but have a bit of fun.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, you guys have, you know, weekly D&D games going on,
Yes,
monthly board game stuff going on. What about like families type stuff? Since you already have like all that cool stuff going on, you guys do anything along those lines?
we do some events, you know, where people can all kind of get together, and a lot of the folks here are sort of friends outside of the office too. So, you know, it sort of bleeds over. It's not uncommon that you see people bringing their kids into the office occasionally. And then one of the neat things that ThinkGeek does, or one of the things I think at least is pretty neat. So most all of our photography that you see on the site is us. It's employees of ThinkGeek. So whenever we have kids, it's people's kids. They just bring in their kids and do photo with them. So it's definitely a pretty family friendly place, I would say.
Excellent. It sounds like it. So all the models are actually employees?
Not all of them. You know, sometimes we like. So none of us are exactly professional models, and maybe we aren't very good at it sometimes. And and so sometimes you need a professional model to do something because we just keep screwing it up. So we do bring in some professional models occasionally. We also try to work with sort of local talent on some stuff. So there was we were talking earlier, like we did this commercial for some of our Star Trek products that's airing on TV and on some web properties right now. And there are 3 cosplayers in it that are sort of just local talent cosplayers who were like, yeah, we'd love to do a commercial that has a full makeup, full face Klingon in it. And so you know, we've got a lot of really good fans, and we try to involve them too.
Oh wow, you found that is pretty awesome. And for them as well. That, you know, when we went out to Geek and Sundry, that was like the weird thing, like actually being on a full-on real set and having to go to a makeup person beforehand.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, we try to do what we can as simply as we can here, because it just feels like it feels more authentic, I think, to us who work here. But sometimes you do need the big production, and I don't know, it's pretty striking when you have the crew and they show up and there's like lights and diffusers and reflectors everywhere, and the camera's the size of a Volkswagen, and just like it's just all this crazy stuff, and you're like, wow, this is really real. We're doing something like really legit here.
That is how I felt when we went out to LA. I'm like, I must not puke on Satine Phoenix.
It's not a good first impression. You got to wait till at least the second day.
Yeah.
Before you do that.
Absolutely. But, you know, we've shot over 2,000 videos at that point. But it's just not the same, you know. Literally our set is in Ted's basement, and you know, it's just it's a corner that we made, like it's right across from where we play D&D, you know, every week. So, you know, so it feels like home. Yeah, we've got cameras, we have the diffusers and lights and stuff, but it's still just like us hanging out. But we actually have a whole crew standing there watching you, and you know, the clicky thing and everything.
Oh yeah, you bring those out and you got the scene on there and everything. It just makes it, I don't know, it makes it feel more real, I guess, somehow. Like maybe the points count a little more or something.
Yeah, well, and it's a real set, so it's like, this is a real set, not Ted's basement.
Ted's basement's a real set.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's there, it's real. But yeah, it's and I don't know, you feel kind of like there's maybe like there's a little more pressure, or the stakes are a bit higher on stuff like that. I don't know, but it makes it exciting. It's fun. I like the variety of stuff, you know, when you get sort of like travel between those worlds.
Do you guys have dedicated studio space?
We do. Now that's so it's kind of Ted's basement. So we have I'm gonna let all the secrets to the world. So what we have we do have studio space, and so we are in an office park here in Fairfax, Virginia, which is like 30 minutes west of Washington, D.C. for anybody playing along at home. And in our office building, what we have are some offices that we have covered up the windows on and set up some like permanent lighting inside there, and then we have like white backdrops, and we have green backdrops for chroma key and stuff that we use, and that's how our studio space is set up. So we have a photo studio and a video studio, and anybody who watches our weekly show, and air quotes our show, that's from the video studio that we have set up sort of permanently in there.
Well, I see, you guys rock the Yeti.
Yeah, we've got one of those, and we're looking for ways to sort of like build out and expand and do a bit more. But streaming's kind of a new thing that we've been doing. We haven't been doing it for all that long, just a few months. So we're kind of getting in slowly rather than just kind of doing cannonball into the deep end.
I had an epiphany while I was doing a show, and I was like, on the West Coast, you have Dragons and Stuff. They stream a Pathfinder game to YouTube, and they're connected with a studio. You have Hyper RPG. I believe they have a studio in Seattle as well as LA. You have Legendary Digital Entertainment, which is Alpha, Geek and Sundry, Nerd,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a studio. But do you know we don't have a studio for that stuff on the East Coast? I'm fairly certain. I'm like, I feel like I have to fix this somehow. I just haven't figured it out yet.
That is an interesting thing. So much, I guess, of that production happens in LA anyway. That is kind of the home of that. But yeah, I think you're right. There's not really a big place like that on the East Coast. There's an opportunity.
To my buddy Brian Stillman, who does documentary and a lot of documentaries and a lot of film work. Actually, he probably would have been, if you were at the last Star Wars. What's it called? You just said it.
Oh, Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, Celebration. Yeah, he was out there for his documentary, is Plastic Galaxy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which is like all about collecting Star Wars toys.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he was out there for that as well.
Yeah, Star Wars Celebration was a pretty cool experience for sure. And I'm gonna let out the other secret. I like Star Wars, but I'm not like a big Star Wars fan. And so going to Star Wars Celebration is kind of like it's an educational experience as much as anything for me. And to see some of the stuff that was done there is pretty incredible. Like I'm sure that there's like a wealth of information to be sort of compiled for a documentary. But I also saw, there's people like playing Star Wars miniatures games and all sorts of stuff. It's a really rich, vibrant community for sure.
Yeah, he was telling us the story when he was shooting that documentary, and like he's doing one of the interviews, and he's like, literally right there was the Death Star. The Death Star in the movie was right there where they do the run.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm probably more like you then. I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I'm not like a Star Wars nerd. We're playing, and we just started a new game using Fantasy Flight's Star Wars system, and like. There's like me and my son are playing, and we're just like fans, but like the rest of the table is like they're straight up Star Wars nerds, and like they get talking about Star Wars and the head starts bobbing and everything, especially if you get something wrong.
Yeah, you get, and I guess it happens with anything, right? Like I guess people become ultra fans of sports or of a movie franchise or of television or of games or whatever. But it always kind of impresses me when people are able to sort of like really live that fandom super fully for something that's a fictional world and like have all of these details of it and really know it. And it's just like, it's part of some sort of like living but fictional history. I definitely am not that deep on any fandom. I like a ton of stuff, and I couldn't restrict myself to like one or two things and just be absolutely crazy about any of them. because I'd have too much fear of missing out for not paying attention to the one that was over there that I also wanted to see.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, like, I'm pretty hardcore D&D, and then like I like from there I just like to branch out to other things as well, and enjoy as much stuff. But even like the hardcore D&D part, I think that has more to do with the fact that I've just been doing it for 20, 30 years more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you build on it, right? Like, you start out small and you learn a little bit of it, and then as you go forward, you just add on top of it, and it's like, I don't know, it's like a structure that just keeps getting taller as you add more bricks to it.
So it's all just it's all great stuff, and seeing other people get passionate and nerd out on stuff, that's like one of my new like guilty pleasures, especially doing this stuff and having different people on, and like when you get them and they kind of like you touch on that right thing, and just to watch like their facial expressions and how excited they are, like that to me is like amazing.
Yeah, I do love introducing people to things like that. And like I was saying about Chris, my boss, when he's like, we sat down the first night we done character creation, and our DM had set up this really cool story for us to play through that involved all of this party sort of being called into a barrister's office. And this is like, the game started out by us all being called into this barrister's office for the administration of a will after this man had died. And for some reason, our characters were all named in the will. And we didn't know one another, but we get in there, and Cruz Carter is like, "What can I do in here?" And our DM is like, "You can do anything you want. Like, you're bounded by the bounds of physics and your imagination, but as long as you like stay within the parameters of those two things, you can do whatever you want." And he's like, "So can I go climb that bookshelf over there?" And he goes, "Yeah, you can climb the bookshelf." So Cruz Carter goes shambling up the bookshelf. And this is the beginning of where the grappling hook came into play, right? So he realized that he could just like go do whatever. And so he's like climbing up on this bookshelf and perching there like some kind of a bird of prey on the top of a bookshelf, trying to see what's going on. And it was this moment of realization for a couple of people who had never played D&D before, that you can do anything you want. Like, no matter how stupid it is, you can enable having.
Oh no, you're frozen. We may have just lost Jeff.
Oh, are you there?
I am here.
Aha! The internet here is suspect at best on the best of days.
It's been pretty solid for the most part. There's been a couple glitches here and there, but I also think that after it processes, that YouTube kind of fixes some of that.
Yeah, seems like it does a pretty good handshake to make sure that it sort of stays connected. But yeah, introducing people to that thing and sort of like seeing them experience it and really fall in love with it is a really cool experience.
Yeah, it is the best thing. Like recently, I got to introduce my nephew to D&D, and he had his first session, and when you get someone and they just get it, like you're saying, like I can do whatever I want, and it's like, especially if they come from like maybe more of a video game culture where like you can do whatever you want within these rules.
Yeah. You can punch anybody in the world except for that guy.
Yeah. Where in D&D, you can absolutely punch that guy. They might punch you back.
Yeah, the results might not come out the way you were hoping that they would, but hey, you can go do that.
Yeah.
You just go live your truth.
Hence the grappling hook. Now he can grapple all the things.
Yeah. Yeah, that grappling hook has almost gotten him killed a couple of times, and so far he has not been like the slightest bit deterred. Cruz Carter is for sure he's gonna like live by the hook and die by the hook.
Yeah. That is the truth. So we're getting to that hour marker just beyond. So it's time to wrap things up. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me today, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us today. And we will be back tomorrow at the same time with a new guest. So until next time, guys, stay nerdy.